D. McClung, Archer Monologues, July 3rd, 2020. The following statement got me blocked from Facebook for 30 days. Most Americans are so dumbified that they totally ignore the war crimes and crimes against humanity of their government and the U.S. military. Denial is a mental illness. End quote. Yes, that statement got me blocked from Facebook for 30 days. Now, you may not agree with what I said in that sentence. You may not like what I said in that sentence. However, I didn't say anything that was criminal. I didn't say anything that was against the law. I didn't say anything against any individual, like libel or slander or defamation of character of any person or individual. In other words, I didn't mention the names of, say, George Bush in the statement. That president, that person, that is one of the most despicable human beings alive on this planet today. George W. I didn't call for violence. I didn't advocate any sort of acts of terrorism. I didn't suggest that anybody take any actions whatsoever. I didn't make a statement of a hate crime, or I didn't, my bad, I didn't say anything about, hate crimes. I didn't say anything about a hate crime. I didn't advocate it. I didn't condone it. I don't condone violence, except in self-defense, in which case you have to engage in some self-defense to defend your life, your property, your families, friends, your lives of your family, your neighbors, even your country. If you go into that I love my country thing, which is very close to nationalism or statism, and I try to shy away from that because, you don't love your country, and that's just silly. Of course, I don't know that I love or don't love my country. It's a landmass. I happen to live here in America. The name of my country. Now, the reason I consider America the name of the country is, documentations and historical facts and so on point to that being the case. But I don't hate America. I don't dislike America. It's just a landmass where a lot of people live. Over 300 million people live here in the states that make up that landmass. Now, there is a union of these states, which in the old days used to just simply mean a country or a nation, and before that, a colony. So I didn't make any statements that were worthy of me being banned from anything. I mean, certainly I shouldn't have been blocked from Facebook for 30 days, particularly since I wasn't even given an opportunity to defend my statement or to reconsider my statement. In fact, there wasn't any chance, there wasn't any opportunity for me to say, what's wrong with the statement? Why am I going to be punished for making the statement? What did I say in that statement that is so bad that I deserve to be blocked from Facebook, my page, on Facebook for 30 days? Nope. No due process here. Now, a lot of people might suggest that due process applies to legal courts of law. The government has to give you due process if they're going to accuse you of a crime. But due process applies to any situation where, shall we say, justice should prevail, where human decency should prevail, where people should be treated with some respect. And when I say with some respect, I mean if you haven't actually committed a crime, and even if you've committed an infraction of social etiquette, you certainly should get some due process before you are punished by some, corporation like Facebook. I don't believe that corporations should be punishing anybody. And I don't want to get into well, I'll just say it. Corporations have no rights, therefore, they have nothing to say about this. And don't think that they have the right to, control their own platform once that platform becomes public domain, which is what a corporation like Facebook is. There's a corporate charter that says, you can do the research yourself. Google it. Look for corporate law. Look for corporate charters. See if you can find a corporate charter on Facebook, on Google, and see if you can find it in a government database that defines what a corporation is and what the laws are and what a corporate charter entails. You can do that. It's easy. Type in the word, hit Google, hit them up. They'll tell you. Because practically everything's on the internet. Practically everything. Practically. And impractically. So at any rate, I didn't do anything to deserve that. I didn't get any due process. And like I said, I'm entitled to due process when somebody, like a corporation, is causing me harm, is causing me, is violating my right to free speech. Now, I know that you think that the right to free speech is something like the First Amendment, the Constitution guarantees it, and that sort of thing. And the government, that just simply means the government can't censor me or put me in jail for saying something. Well, I got news for you. The right of free speech has nothing to do with the Constitution. The right of free speech is something you're born with. It's an inalienable human right, just like all of those other rights. And you know what they are. Surely you do. Unless you're like 4 years old and you never read anything in your life. So this idea that I can't say what I want on a public forum, a public domain, a place that I go to in order to express my thoughts and produce and to sponsor or promote my work. Now, what is my work? I won't call it my job. As my mother would say, do you make any money at it? Well, I make some money, but the point is, what I do on the internet is, a lot of it is simply me doing my occupation, engaging in my free speech and my creative skills, putting them to appropriate use, like expressing my thoughts and my feelings and my ideas and so forth. And yes, an opinion now and then. Mostly not an opinion. Mostly a logical conclusion and a critical analytic observation of a situation that involves human beings. I observe and comment and render works of art which is not limited to simply visuals, but also to literature. I write, I paint, I sculpt, I do videos, I record sounds, I express in various venues. This is one of them. It's my occupation. It's something that I occupy my life with, and I'm devoted to it. All of the different aspects of creativity and expressing myself. And I went to Facebook for one purpose. I became a user of Facebook for one reason: to promote myself, my ideas, and my art. And I did so to present my work of art to the world. Every single person that uses Facebook has a right to see what I post. Now, this thing about you gotta get on someone's friends list or something in order to communicate with them. For them to see your post, you have to be. They have to take you on as a friend or whatever. That's bullshit. Everything I post should be available to every user of Facebook. Everybody should see it. Now, I realize that with 1 billion plus people posting things on the internet, on Facebook, that it might be difficult for anyone or everyone to actually see every single post put on Facebook. That would be an impossibility. However, I just figured a fair chance. If it's there, people can find it. Look at it this way: if I was to put something on the internet and Google was to, someone was to do a Google search, then they say, put in my name, and my name should come up, as well as everything I've ever posted on Facebook or anywhere on the internet under my name. Blocking any of my work that I've put on the internet is wrong. Censoring me is wrong. Now, I want to make this clear. The government supposedly is not allowed to censor people because free speech. And that being the case, and it's true, and anyone who's studied history and studied the Constitution and the principles of freedom understands that, that right is inalienable. Now, absolute, we don't like to talk about absolutes because the fact of the matter is it's difficult to find anything that's absolute. I mean, here's the universe, there's the sun, here's Earth, here's a bunch of people, here's some animals, there's clouds, there's rain, the sun shines, the sun goes around, the Earth goes around, the universe goes around, whatever. So the sun is absolute, and yet we are told by scientists that, the sun will eventually die 5 billion years from now. Maybe. And if that's the case, then I guess the sun's not absolute. And maybe it's not even absolute within the foreseeable future. Because maybe the sun will just boom tomorrow. I don't know. And I don't think any human being knows. Because shit happens and suns do go away. Poof, die, explode, implode, whatever. Black hole might come along and, black holes, black hole might come along and gobble up our sun and the rest of us. So at any rate, absolutes are difficult to communicate on, that concept. So let's not go with that. However, if somebody censors me, if it's a corporation, they violated my human right, doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what excuse you can come up with to argue in defense of criminals and bastards that censor people. Oh, we got to censor hate speech. Well, let me tell you something. Hate speech is something that somebody invented. That's a phrase that came out of nowhere, a few years ago, relatively few. I suppose at some point back 100, 200, 500 years ago, somebody thought, that's very hateful what you said. But I don't think it became a political mantra until recently. But now we're trying to legislate that. Well, we're not. They are, the bad guys, the government, thugs, goons, terrorists, whatever. So what I'm saying is I joined Facebook. I'm a user of Facebook because I wanted my work to be seen. I want to promote myself as an artist and as an author, as a poet, and as a monologuist, which is what I'm doing right now. So I want everything I post to be seen, or at least available to be seen by anyone. Just like anything on Google databanks. If you Google something, you have a right to find it. Google, you have a right to expect Google to show you what you Googled, what you're searching for. So if you Google my name, everything on the internet that has anything to do with my name should show up on the list of places, sites that you can go to find out about me. Assuming I put it on the internet. There are things that I don't put on the internet for reasons that, personal reasons. I don't want you to, I'm just going to make up something silly here. I don't put anything on the internet about, what color underwear I wear. That's just nobody's business. It doesn't matter. It has no relevance to anyone. I mean, who cares? It's not important. It's important to me because I'm the one that chose the color of my underwear and I'm the one that wears it. Well, here's a clue. I don't wear any underwear. Haven't worn underwear for decades. It's pretty much a useless piece of clothing. I don't understand why anybody would wear underwear. Really. Just why? But I don't put it on the internet, as I just did. I just mentioned that I don't wear underwear, and therefore there is no color to my underwear sense. There is none. Not that I don't have underwear, but I haven't worn underwear for so long, and it's in a drawer somewhere. So I don't want that to be known, not because it's a secret, but simply because it's not important. It doesn't matter. It only matters to me. And by some stretching of the imagination, it might be important to someone I live with, like my wife, my spouse, my mate, my partner, whatever title we choose to call each other, spouse, mates, whatever. And, because why? Because she might, be the one doing the laundry, and she might want to not put my red underwear in with her white underwear. I'm not saying her underwear is white, and I'm not saying that I have red underwear. I mean, I just made that up, just an illustration. But it might be important to her that I have red underwear, because she doesn't want to put my red underwear in with her white delicacies, and, the red might get on her white and ruin it. She wouldn't want that. So it's important to her. Now, like I said, I made all that up. I don't have underwear. I might even have some red underwear in the drawer somewhere. I don't know. I haven't looked in the drawer for years. But it's important in that sense. But otherwise, to you and anybody else on the world, it's not important. Absolutely insignificant, irrelevant to any other human being. on this planet. So there you go. So I don't put that on there. But everything else I put on there is public knowledge. I mean, I don't put my secrets and my personal information on there if I don't want people to know about it. There are maybe things I've done in my life I particularly want to broadcast to the world. I can't think of anything at the moment that I am ashamed of. There are some things I regret, which is not the same as shame. Shame and regret, two different things. Shame is you're like, oh my God, and regret is like, yeah, I just wish I hadn't done that. And I'm not talking about some sort of crime like murder or rape or thievery or anything terrible like that. Which I haven't done any of those things. But if I did, I probably wouldn't want to broadcast that to the world. So generally speaking, I don't have any major, significant secrets. There are some things I've done that I don't want to broadcast to the world. I may not want to broadcast certain things to my spouse for reasons of personal choice, and I wouldn't want her to. I just don't want to have to deal with her knowing it and thinking about it and discussing it, because it happened and it's done, whatever it is, good or bad, right or wrong. Now, I'm not saying I'm guilty of anything or have committed any kind of infractions of social etiquette or infractions of social relationship principles or whatever, because I haven't. Well, someone's opinion might say I did, but then again, they could be wrong. At any rate, and they might be speculating, and speculations are usually just pointless. So, like I said, there was no reason for the Facebook Gestapo, thug, bully, terrorist to ban me, block me from Facebook for 30 days. It was just wrong. And this leads me to some other things that are wrong. I'll run through some of them. All right. Item 1. And these are things that are wrong in a sense of they are either unethical. I won't use the word immoral or even moral, because that's a word that's been tainted by Christianity, and it's pretty much useless now. It's meaningless. It's like, the Christians have taken it over and they claim it, and of course they're wrong about that, because yeah, I'm sorry, it's just an idiotic concept. And as well, like, for example, sin as opposed to a crime, as opposed to just something that is, socially unacceptable, or something that might be frowned upon by society or your friends and family if it's a personal thing. So I don't use that word. I use the word ethics and ethical, because it's a secular word, and it means something in a secular sense. Secular? Secular sense. So, number 1, item 1, dress codes. I've spoken about this before many times. Dress codes in America, well, anywhere actually, but in America, since that's where I live and that's the society I pretty much have to deal with. Dress codes in America are not allowed. How do I say this in such a way that gets through to you that what I'm saying is true and important? Dress codes in schools. Let's remember, we're talking about America, a place where we're supposed to be free. And please, for the love of God, don't try to argue with me on this and suggest that there are exceptions or there are limits or something of that nature. Oh, well, we can't have people wearing whatever they want to school because it might be disruptive to their education. Schools are a disruption to people's education. And you know that as well as I do. But dress codes are not allowed in a free society because they are the opposite of freedom. I have the freedom, by the way, I have the right to decide what I will wear and what I will not wear. And if I choose not to wear anything at all, that's also all right. But I'm not going to get into the nudity part of it at this point. These dress codes are barbaric, archaic, anti-freedom. They discriminate because some of them point out, designate particular class of people. In this case, high school kids, for example. High school kids cannot wear that kind of clothes to school because I'm the boss of God. I'm the boss of the world, and I'm the boss of schools, and I'm the boss of everybody, and I'm saying you can't wear that to school. Well, that sounds like dictatorship to me. That sounds like authoritarianism to me. And it sounds like other things like, just wrong, evil, disgusting, pathetic, insane, and wrong. And it shouldn't be allowed. And people should be up in arms. And I literally mean that. Up in fucking arms, if needs be, to protect our right to decide what we will wear and what we will not wear. In school or otherwise. Now, I'm not talking about people who have a particular profession or occupation where they dress in a particular uniform kind of thing for practical reasons. I'm not opposed to clothing. I am not opposed to nudism, and I'm not opposed to wearing clothes when it's appropriate, or even if you choose to wear clothes, as opposed to choose not to wear clothes. That's your choice. Now, I know the government says, no, you don't have a right to decide if you want to be naked or not. Well, yeah, you do. The government oppresses us, all of us, and says, you got to wear clothes or we'll put you in jail for indecent exposure. Well, sorry, but the government is wrong. And no, you can't put me in jail if I choose not to wear clothes, because it's a right. And this is not debatable. This is not negotiable. Born with a right to be nude because, we were born nude. That means natural. You're putting on clothes, that's artificial. It's not natural. At some point in your life, it becomes practical. And I'm thinking here, I had children when my babies were very young. And yes, I have children. All grown up now. But if you have a toddler, and that toddler has not been toilet trained, that is to say, he hasn't learned where the potty is, he's going to go around the house, and he's very likely going to be dropping turds all over the house. And you don't want that because of obvious reasons. So, a diaper would be cool. And my children, some of them, all of them, I think at some point when they were younger, decided, I'm going to go out and play in the yard and I don't want to wear pants because I don't want to. And probably because they knew that if they had to pee, they would pee in their underwear and their diaper or whatever, and that would be uncomfortable. So they just said, I can just pee in the yard and don't worry about it. I think that was pretty clever of my kids to think that way. I'm pretty sure that's what they thought. So anyway, dress codes are wrong. They're insane. They're illegal in regards to the principles of freedom in which this country is supposed to be founded on and function accordingly to the rules of freedom. You just don't tell people what they can wear. You just don't. It's wrong, and it shouldn't be allowed. And people should do something about that. They should just stop it. And apparently nobody thinks that they have the power to do that. And I can tell you that if you don't think it's right, which like if you agree with me, and I'm right, of course, and I am right, and you know I'm right if you think about it, if you have the capacity to reason things through here, freedom means I can do what I want. Freedom means I can wear what I want. That means government can't tell me not to, or can't tell me I have to wear something else. Like I said, if it's a uniform, like if you're a fireman, then possibly a fireman's uniform would be practical for you. If you're living way up northern part of Alaska in the mountains, where it's like 30 below zero, you might consider wearing some clothes to keep yourself from freezing your turtles. And you know what I'm talking about. Practical. And at the same time, if you live in a climate where it's 120 degrees, humidity's high, like in the jungles, like in the Caribbean islands, you might want to consider not wearing clothes because it's just too hot. Makes sense? Don't wear them. If the government's going to come along and say you have to, then your government is wrong, and your government needs to be kicked in the ass and set straight and forced if necessary. Now, there's a thing I find interesting. This thing about, what's that, the phrase, non-aggression principle. Yeah. People are allowed to be aggressive towards people who are trying to hurt them or to violate their rights or oppress them. You have the right to force people to stop oppressing you. Wars of liberation have been going on forever. And the fairy tale story about the Jews, being liberated from Egypt, fairy tale, didn't happen. As far as I can tell, I haven't seen any evidence of it. It's a fairy tale. They made it up. So from then, they're talking 4,000 or 5,000 years ago or so. I don't know how many. Long time ago. Well before my lifetime. And all the way up to now, where we have people that are being oppressed in various countries of the world, including America. And believe it or not, America oppresses its own people. Like dress codes. All right. So you want to do away with dress codes. They're not free. You should be able to make up your own mind, decide what you want to wear. There are certain circumstances where it might not be, like I said, dress, uniforms that are necessary for your job, so forth. You want to put a costume on for Halloween? Yeah, it's a good thing. But otherwise, if you want to wear a t-shirt to school, with something on it that, that's your business. No one has the right to tell you can't. And if they do, then you need to straighten them out and tell them, no, you're not telling me what to wear. And every student in America should stand up and say, no, no more. The dress codes in the school are abolished as of now, period. End of story, case closed, or else someone's going to get their ass kicked. I don't mean violence and, riots and all that shit. Stand your ground. Make it clear you're not going to tolerate fascism or, terrorists and tyranny and dictators and anti-freedom nutfuckers. Didn't mean to say that. Anti-freedom religious zealots and nutters. Like Christians. Nutters. Total, insane, retarded dumb fucks. Yeah, there are people that are Christians that are like, why is he just hurting my feelings and shit? Tough shit. Don't be an idiot, and I won't have to hurt your feelings. Just stop it. It's just stupid. Don't do it. That's just your opinion. No, it's an observation of reality. You're not bright. You don't believe. Anyway, moving on. Item number 2. All right, item number 2. Let's pick something at random here. Income tax. This is a factual statement. There is no law making the individual, non-incorporated American liable for the income tax. That is a factual statement. It is a factual statement backed up by research, backed up by documents, court rulings, and people who have actually looked in the law to find it. And they didn't. You understand? They didn't find it because it doesn't exist. The only laws in the income tax code, all of them, apply to, guess what? Corporations. Corporations don't have rights, by the way. They have an obligation. They are subjected to the tax because the tax applies to corporate profits on a privilege, because earning a living is a human right, and human rights are not subject to taxation. This is the law. This has been ruled upon by courts. It's still valid, still true. Those rulings have not been overturned. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about these facts, oh, by the way, who owes the income tax? Who's liable for it? Non-resident aliens with domestic source income. Well, what does that mean? You have to define it because the codes are written in legalese, and you have to say, what does that mean? Well, these words are defined in the law. A non-resident alien, that means an alien. That means a corporation on another country, like China, Japan, South Korea. Corporation. The word alien means foreign corporation. So a foreign corporation that does business in America, that makes a profit from exercising the privilege of doing business in America, because if you're a foreign corporation, you're coming here to exercise a privilege to do business here, because only Americans have the right to do business here. We're not aliens in our own country. Corporate profits with domestic source income, meaning the source of the income to that corporation is in America, where the corporation from another country is, say, selling you a product in America and making money from that. Corporate proceeds, which, after the deductions for expenses of operating a business and making the product, you have corporate profits from engaging in a privilege granted to you by your corporate license in America, an extension of your incorporation in, say, China. And that makes you subject to withholding, because that's who is subject to withholding. Foreigners, not Americans. We're not foreigners in our own country. So that's true, and that's documented. There is plenty of evidence to support this. And if you want to know more about this, oh, by the way, one other thing. The word for the purposes of the income tax. Repeat, for the purpose of the income tax, a person is a corporation. Now, I'm not a corporation. I never applied to be a corporation. I have not got a corporate charter. I'm not a corporation. Therefore, for the purposes of the income tax, a person is a corporation, and a corporation is therefore subject to the income tax. So anytime you see the word person In the income tax code, it's talking about a corporation, not you, not a real human being, because they changed the meaning of the word person to mean something else, not the common definition. So there you go. Those are two examples of the law. I'm quoting you from the law, the tax code. I'm not making this up. It's not even my opinion. I quoted you exactly what it says. And that's what it means. Not us. Them. Corporation. Privilege. Not a right. If you're engaged in earning a living, that's a right. You cannot be taxed because the Constitution says so directly. So that's item 2 for now. And just to put a little plug in for the guy who is the leading expert on the income tax in America, Dave Champion. I'm going to plug it. I'm pimping for Dave because Dave knows what he's talking about. He wrote the book. It's an awesome book. I've read the book. You need to get the book and learn what he has to say, and you will learn, and you will get references. There's like 425 pages in the book, and there's, I don't even know how many, 25 pages or more of references to, check it out what he says and make sure what he said is true. Because, references like court cases and documents and court and records and laws passed by Congress and regulations and so forth. It's all in the book. So get the book, buy the book. If you can't afford to buy the book yourself, go together with some other people and split the cost, buy the book, read the book, pass it around, and then you will know what I know and what Dave Champion knows. And there you go. So that's the end of the episode for now. I'm going to leave you with these kind words. It is the duty of the patriot to protect his country from its government. So, goodbye for now. Catch you next time. D. McClung, Archer Monologues.